Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tardis Zone. This is the Tardis Zone Talks. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. It's been revealed that Jordan Children in Need, we will get the world premiere apparently of the Christmas special. Um, Also, the tenants. Have been bragging about some sort of fans have jumped to the conclusion that there's a David Tennant or a Tennant's secret project coming up. Um, Again, I just want to say this though: if David Tennant or indeed his missus are involved in a Doctor Who project, well, then it tells me that the whole thing has failed because you keep going back to David Tennant to try and rescue this shit show. And also, what you're saying to people is that shoot you got was Doctor didn't work. So after making a big deal over a female Doctor, you dumped her, and now you are going to dump Shooty Gatwa maybe in favor of maybe David Tennant or his wife coming back secret Doctor Who project. Now that's what's being rumored by fans, right, and speculated by fans. Um, what do I what do I personally think? Well, as I said, I think it'll be a failure. Uh, um, it will it will let people like me know and fans out there like me know that the whole Doctor Who experiment with Disney Plus has failed miserably. Also, Doctor Who's Joe Martin. I'm jealous of growing. I'm jealous of the generation growing up with a black doctor. Apparently, she is. We always get this rhetoric. Especially Jordan, Black History Month, and all of this other nonsense. I really don't give a shit what she has to say. To be quite honest with you, the bottom line is that you've nothing to be jealous of because Shooty's Doctor is absolutely awful, and that's got to do with the fact that RTD has written him absolutely awful. So there is nothing to be jealous about. Uh, but apparently, she's had a lot of messages from around the world, from Brazil to Australia to America to this country, people of color who have reached out, females of color, right? I mean, females of color. That sounds racist to me. Like, do you know what I mean? But this is the new thing now. This is the new lefty woke ideology. Like, it is racist, but to them it's not racist, and to the mainstream media it's not racist. But to call someone a female of color or a person of color, I've never really liked that term to be quite honest with you. If they're from Brazil, then they're black Brazilian. End of story. Like this person of color, shy. Um, uh, and she shed a tear about it, but they're happy tears because she's so jealous. Blah 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 blah. But hey, we got our first black doctor among all of that, and I take my hat off to the BBC and all those who sail with that show that they made that choice. She's celebrating the fact, the usual bullshit from all of these fucking people. You can't just watch a sci-fi show now. It has to be about skin color or who's screwing who or who identifies as what pronouns these people have. Also, again, as I said, all of these black actors coming out of the woodwork. We got another one here who said, we're on the frontier of time right here, right now, and we should always be pushing those boundaries. And that comes from Sharon D. Clark. She says, the flack Jodie Whittaker took for being the first female doctor was ridiculous. Someone said little boys no longer have a role model. Well, if you have a problem with that, I go and suggest then you make something for people that you want to, this is what I don't understand. These clowns talk about all of this, but like they really do nothing about it themselves, do they? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Denzel Washington formed his own fucking theatre and fucking school, so young black actors and actresses could could get the skills, could get the education. Yeah, stop fucking moaning and playing the victim all the time and do fucking something about it. Maybe take a lesson from Denzel Washington. He doesn't play the victim, right, or anything like that. Actually, when he did a speech a few years back and he was talking to students, he was talking to African American students, and he was saying, don't expect people to do things for you or to give you handouts. You've got to work hard for what you get, right? Nothing should be handed to you because of your skin color. You morons. That's racism, right? So what you want to do is, right, because there was apparently racism in the past, you want to punish us all today by being racist. Like, cop on to yourselves. Like, you don't know. Apparently, real super doctor, or real super John, as you know, does be on the channel sometimes. He put in a post on one of my chats and says, Russell Tovey could be RTD's new master in Between the Land and the Sea. That would be absolutely a horrible fucking decision. I do like Russell Tovey. I've said that on many occasions on this channel, but we already have a master. So again, you're getting rid of the Black Doctor, and now you're going to get rid of Sacha Dhawan's master. Is that what you're doing? So much for diversity and inclusion, folks. What? So much for the diversity and inclusion. They're bullshit fucking artists, right? They're bullshit artists. They make a big deal out of this, right? They rip a fandom apart and all of this, right? And then within a year or two, because it doesn't work out, they get rid of them. They get rid of them after making a big deal and then coming out and attacking fans for not supporting it. Why should we? Why should we support it? Right? Because we know it's fickle. Right? We know that you don't mean absolutely nothing that you say. We don't believe you. Right? You don't even have any convictions. Right? If Disney Plus or BBC, whoever's pulling the strings for Doctor Who right now, this is what should happen, right? Shooty Gatwa shouldn't be the fall guy, right? The person that's responsible for Doctor Who's decline is RTD, right? And Chris Chibnall before him. But RTD is in charge of the current era, and it's failing because of him, because of his ideology, because of his agenda, right? He wants to put those before a proper story and character development. And then when he does a little bit of character development, it's very shoddy. And we've seen that throughout his run, his second run in charge of Doctor Who. You could bring back David Tennant all you want, right? You could dig up William Hartnell's grave and bring him back all you fucking want, right? You could try to do whatever it takes, bringing back former doctors or whatever it is, right? If that's what you believe is going to bring this show back to some sort of normality, well, you're absolutely wrong. You could do whatever you want. The bottom line is this: fans are sick and tired of the agenda. They're sick and tired of the ideology seeping in to their fucking franchise. This is a sci-fi show. It's a sci-fi show, not a biology fucking lesson, not a climate change fucking seminar, right? It is a fucking sci-fi show, right? Entertainment, science fucking fiction. And these people in charge are RTD, right? Chris Chibnall before him put agenda and ideology before anything else. And that's why the show has failed, right? As I said, I may not have liked Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. I didn't agree with a female Doctor, but I've always maintained this and I've always said this. We will never fully, truly realise how good she could have been in that role, or how bad. Well, we got to see how bad, but we would never saw her true potential. And the reason why we didn't see her true potential was because Chris Chibnall hindered her, right? And the same thing is the history is repeating itself now with Ncuti Gatwa, right? We will never, right? People have made up their minds about him already, just like I made up my mind about Jodie Whittaker very quickly, right? That's fair. You can have that. But we'll never, but I've understood this, I'll never fully, truly understand or see her potential because she was hindered. And now the same thing is happening the shoot you got with. And why? Because they used the two showrunners in question, used those actors, right, for their agenda and ideology, right? Chris Chibnall wanted to push the feminist agenda, so he pushed and used Jodie Whittaker as the vessel to do that. And with the characters that he has brought in to the so-called 60th anniversary and then into his show, everyone, whether it's been a trans character or whether it's been a black person on screen or whether a little person's on screen or someone in a wheelchair, it's all fucking agenda driven, right? It's all agenda driven, right? It's not about the character development or about how these characters are interesting. No, let's focus on either their disability or focus on the fact that they're different to everybody else. And this is what is going to continue to happen if someone doesn't pull the plug on it, right? Or someone doesn't say, do you know what, enough is enough. We need to go back to the roots. And that's what I think. Look, for the best success for this show or to have the best chance now, this show has to go back to its roots. If it doesn't go back to its roots, well, then it doesn't matter what they try and do. It's not going to work now, right? A lot of fans that I've been speaking to wanted to go back to its roots, right? Now, some people out there mightn't find that entertaining enough, but who gives a shit, right? The bottom line is Doctor Who fans will be happy because the difference between Doctor Who and every other sci-fi show out there is, right, is Doctor Who got you thinking as well, right? It was about the writing. It was about the character development because they didn't have the money for the CGI and the big sets like, you know, when Star Trek was out, right? And all of those other sci-fi shows, they all had budgets, right? They could do stuff, right? But little show like Doctor Who, they had to rely on the writing. They had to rely on the character development. And of course, the actors and actresses to bring it all to life. And that's what needs to happen with this show now. It needs to go back to its roots. It needs to go back to basics. It needs to go back to what it was always good at. Storytelling, character development. And good old-fashioned sci-fi. For fuck's sake, man. That's what's missing in modern science fiction today anyway, because it's full of fucking agenda. Even Star Wars, even though I don't like Star Wars and I find Star Trek more science fiction-y, right? I think Star Wars to me is a bit more like science fantasy or something like that, right? That's just my opinion, right? I know I'm not disrespecting anybody that loves Star Wars. I was just never a huge fan. I was more of a Trekkie, right? But even with Star Wars, look what they've done to Star Wars now, right? It doesn't even resemble Star Wars anymore. It doesn't resemble Star Wars. Hold on. The missus is texting me. She's gone out to get some. It's why I'm on early. She wants to chill and watch something with me because, you know, Ted has been all over the place with the fireworks and all of that. So it's just there's a little bit of stress with Ted because Ted is elog. So we're treating ourselves tonight and we're gonna watch a movie, maybe a horror or so. We've been watching horrors. We watched well, it's not really a horror, but we watched White Noise. But we also watched Child's Play. And we watched a few other things. So because it's Halloween, we're gonna watch a few horrors as well. I watched the Amityville Horror on my own then when she went to bed. Obviously the old movie, the classic movie. So I'll probably later on as well watch the second part tonight. Um, fucking love old horror movies. There's nothing better. Um, so I'll be on for another maybe 15 minutes or so, folks. Short one today. I did try. It was a bit late texting him though, but I did ask Cinnamon if he wanted to come on, but was so short notice that he hasn't even seen the message. So I do apologize to him if he's listening to after the fact. It was just, he's ourselves, especially those people in the chat. If you are married, you know what, you know yourself. You have to spend a bit of time with the missus and all. And I've been very busy over this last year, so you know, because next year is going to be even busier. So you know, he's ourselves. So get as much time in as we actually can. And so we're probably all gone next year anyway when they press the button. Boo! We're all gone. Anyway, but that's what needs to happen now. But it's not going to happen, right? So they're not going to go back to basics, right? They're not going to bring it back to good storytelling and character development. They're going to continue to go down this route. Now, as you all know, right now, the decision on the future of Doctor Who is still up in the air. No matter what anybody says out there, nothing official has come out yet, right? So it's still up in the air. Some have said, including myself, there could be different scenarios at play. I did even bring up the show could be on hiatus because, you got the spin off and all. They could do other spin offs as well. There'd be no rush to bring back Doctor Who, to be quite honest with you, after Shooty's second season, if they wanted to take a bit of a break, if that's what they thought was needed to kind of refresh the show. But what I don't understand is that giving this show a little bit of a rest is not going to do jack shit if you're going to come back and do the same things again and make the same mistakes a few years down the line. Like if you put it on hiatus, say you put it on a 2-year break or a year break, right, after the second season, right? If you're going to bring it back and continue to go down the course that you've went down, then it's not good. The year break was pointless, right? All you've actually just maintained to do is that people don't give a fuck about Doctor Who. They've forgotten about it. And by the way, that's not me being harsh here. That's the reality. Nobody's really talking about Doctor Who except the YouTubers. And then look at their numbers, right? Including mine. They're all down. They're down all over the shop. The interest for Doctor Who is not what it once was, right? So there's no excitement even there. So here's the thing: if you're going to put it on hiatus, you better come back with a bang, and you better come back and go back to basics, like I've been talking about: character development, great storytelling, just good old fashioned sci-fi. Good old fashioned sci-fi. If you can't do that, then don't bring it back. You're wasting your time. You've wasted your time. There is no hope for this show now going down the direction and the route that you have gone down. Right? So it's either go back to basics and go back to what made Doctor Who a great show, or just forget about it. Just can it. Just do us all a favour and can it, and we'll have the memories, right? And we'll have some good memories. It won't be all bad. We'll have some good memories, right? Just can it. Finish it. Just end it. If you're not going to bother doing what's best for Doctor Who and giving it every chance to be the best show it can be, well then don't bother. Don't bother. I'm sick of showrunners or people coming in saying this is what Doctor Who should be and this is the direction it should go down in. Right? It has its format. It has its formula that has worked for over 60 years now. Right? 60 years this show, right? 60 years. You don't get a show lasting 60 years if they didn't do something right. and you are going against everything that made the show what it was, and then you are wondering why nobody is watching. I'm not here, or I don't want to be here, and haven't wanted to be here these last years on this channel, continuously bashing this show, right? But I'm not going to praise shy, right? I have high standards, just like Doctor Who fans in this chat and everybody else that loves this show truly has high standards. And what's happened over the last few years is that the fans have allowed the showrunners to let the standard go down. And they've also dropped their standards as well, which is the most sickening thing about this, is that fans have dropped their, well, this is Doctor Who now. We should accept it. Just accept the fact that the show is carrying on. And all of this other bullshit you hear. No, it has a certain fucking standard, right? And if you don't reach that standard, then it's not good enough. Simple as that. And that's the minimum nowadays to reach the standard of the good years, right? That's the minimum today. Because in fairness, in 2024, this show should be off the charts. Should have the best writers. It should have the best fucking scripts. The best actors working on the fucking thing. The potential of this fucking show in the modern age could be absolutely phenomenal, and it's not. They've fouled the ball, right? They've got a deal with Disney Plus, which gives them access to over 63 or 69 countries or something it was, right? And the show has failed. Now, it's been successful in some markets around the world, but that's some markets around the world, right? But the main markets for these guys is America and the UK. And it's very big in Australia as well, actually, Doctor Who. So the Australian market as well, I'd put in that bracket as well. Right? It's failed in England. It's failed in the UK, sorry. It's failed in the States and in Australia because Matt is there. The show's on life support. I reckon it's failing in Australia as well. Right? It's failure, failure, failure. Like the Disney deal, I know everybody was against it, including myself. But think about it. It opened up 60 odd different markets for them. And nobody's talking about this show right now, except if they break a bit of news. Now, obviously, the whole thing with the trailer, the Christmas trailer apparently is coming Children in Need next month, right? So there'll be a bit of talk about that. And then there's the speculation about the tenants because they start putting up cryptic fucking photos and videos or whatever the fuck it was, right? And then fans start talking. But it's only when something is released that fans will talk about. Every other day, it's dead now, right? Or if you do see Doctor Who chatter, go and see who it's about. It's not about the current era, right? I would even go as far as to say it's most of it is about the old Doctors, including Jodie Whittaker, right? Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith's Doctor gets mentioned quite a lot. Even Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, and of course David Tennant. Right? But any chatter about Doctor Who online right now is mostly about the past. I'm going to be heading off shortly, Cinnamon. I've explained at the start of the stream. This was just going to be, I just sent you the thing just in case you saw her straight away. But I'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's stream. It's just, Ted is a bit under the weather with the fireworks and all that, stressed, and Cheryl's not feeling the best either in mood and stuff. So we're just going to sit down and watch a movie. She's gone to get some munchies now, and we're going to sit and watch a horror maybe or something. Here, you should see her reaction when she watches a fucking horror. It's hilarious, like. because you know I'm watching that. I've grew up with all of these things, right? And I'm not saying she hasn't, but her reaction to horrors to mine is different. Like I'll sit there and watch The Exorcist, and there won't be one moment in that movie that will surprise me or give me a jump scare, right? Because I've seen it, and of course she's seen it as well. But she'll sit there and every few minutes, you know what I mean? But all of those old horrors made me immune to horrors today. We tried to watch one today, and I was just like, I'm knocking this shit off, man. Here, do you know the way everybody was raving about Megan, right? Right, yeah. Even Cheryl watched it. We watched the separate, but Cheryl watched it, I think, before me. Yeah, because I was watching it something else. I was on my binge watch, right? So she decided she wanted to watch it, I think, and she enjoyed it. And then one night, I was thinking of what to watch. She says, "Why don't you watch that movie? Do you know what? You've been banging on about it for so long, and everybody is banging on about it. I might as well go and put it on." I watched the first 20 minutes and I knocked it off. Right. I don't know why people rant and rave about these type of horror movies. Oh, it's scary, all this shit. 20 minutes in, I was bored shitless. Like, I was bored shitless. Right? They can't, listen, they cannot make a horror, and I'm convinced of it. They cannot make a horror to scare me, and they haven't made a horror to scare me. Horrors today are just cheap thrills and fake jump scares. There's no even thought into them. Like, for example, the movie Sinister, right? Now, don't forget about the second one, just the first movie, right? That movie was the first horror movie, I would say, that made me feel uneasy, right? Okay? That was the first time in a long time that I watched a horror movie where I actually felt uneasy after watching it, right? And that was the first Sinister movie, right? That's as close as they've gotten, right? Every other horror movie I've watched, even the Quiet Place franchise, right? There's a few moments in that where people jump and all of that. I just sit there like, I'm not saying them movies were bad. They're good movies, actually. They're very good. Um, but this whole idea when I see, when the cinema they show you a clip of people reacting to their movie, I just don't get it, man. Maybe I'm just immune because I watched all of these movies when I was a kid, like the Nightmare on Elm Streets, the Amityville Horror, the Omen. You know, I grew up with all of them as a kid. Uh, even watching Aliens, as a kid. Um, now my parents would always watch these movies. I don't want people thinking that me parents, but look at Irish and English parents are very similar and let their kids watch fucking even Child's Play. But what would happen is the adults would watch the movie first. And if there's any parts that they didn't want us to watch, they either told us to turn our heads or they would fast forward the part in the movie. But we grew up watching those movies, like. I do tell you, man. You know what movies I did like? They weren't scary or anything, but they were fascinating. Now, I didn't like the second one in the franchise, but Paranormal Activity gets overlooked, right? Even the later movies, how they link it all up in the end is fucking great. Even the updated version of the Blair Witch Project. Because I didn't like Book of Shadows, as you know. I've always criticized that movie. I say that's the worst movie I've ever watched in my entire life. Was the sequel to the Blair Witch Project, the Book of Shadows. It was absolutely horrific. I mean, it was awful. I fell asleep. I went to see that movie. I was hyped for it because I actually did like the first part, Blair Witch Project. Um, I did like the whole VHS or camcorder movie genre when it actually came out. Cloverfield, of course, as you know, and other movies like that. I like them all. Jeepers Creepers. See, I never really got into Jeepers Creepers. Everybody said, "Oh yeah, Jeepers Creepers scary." I never really got into Jeepers Creepers. Never. Swear to good God. I don't know what it is with that movie franchise. I could never get into it. Uh, the Saw franchise, I mean, the end of the Saw movie does make me uneasy where he's hacking these fucking, I mean, that is, but I mean, look, again, they've gotten close Hollywood with a few movies, but you can never beat the classics. I will say I did like the updated version of the Omen. Um, the deaths in that were pretty cool as well. But I did actually think that was do you know what? I thought that was a good solid remake. You know, um, and they don't really do good solid I'm actually surprised though that the movie, the updated one, didn't get the sequel. I was hoping it'd get the two sequels like the original Omen franchise did. No matter what you think of the other two movies, I actually think I like the Omen too. That's my favorite movie. I love the second one. Um, the second one to me is fucking that one. Seriously, man, that one is pretty fucked up. And I even like the third one as well. But that second movie for me, the Omen movie, is deadly. But look, back to Doctor Who briefly. We'll end on a bit of a horror chat because we're coming up to Halloween anyway. But just Doctor Who's just on Doctor Who. Look, for me, we're getting to a point now where if they don't make the changes that are necessary, we're going to be having the same conversation over and over until they pull the plug. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is on the table right now. You know, as I said, we don't have any official confirmation going forward right now, right? So whatever they decide, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is still the only movie in the franchise that I like because it actually focuses on Halloween. Is that the one? Because I always get confused. People have to refresh me memory here. Is the third one the one with the masks where they all sit in front of the telly and they all fucking their heads all disintegrate or whatever? Is that one? Because if that's the movie, I will admit that Halloween movie kind of fucked me up a little bit because I remember watching that when I was young, obviously, um, and I think it was on one Halloween. Like, 'cause remember they used to show the movies on the telly. Then after a few years, you see them on the telly. Um, and I remember I think they put that on over Halloween, and me ma had got me a mask for obviously because we went back in the day. We went around with the plastic masks, you know, nothing like the masks you have today, and bin bags, right? Black sacks. They used to make costumes out of black bin bags, right? Refuge sacks, whatever you want to fucking call them. Whatever they could get their hands on, they would make a they'd make a costume out of that. Some people would fucking get Pritt stick fucking toilet roll on it with nail varnish, red nail varnish or polish, fucking to simulate blood and all of that shit back in the day. Um, yeah, so that is the one with the masks. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I think that movie is freaky. I will admit that made me feel uneasy. And as I said, I wouldn't wear my mask Halloween. Then I just got it into me head that the mask would fucking seriously that one. That yeah, that's up there. Yeah, man, that is a fucked up movie, man. When I think of it, the old Halloween franchise is a bit weird, anyway. Human Centipede is freaky. I mean, yeah. Uh, I mean, those type of so-called horror movies don't do it for me, though. You know, what was the other one? I liked Hostel. Hostel was a good movie. The Fog is great. Yeah, The Fog is still a classic. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, I'll watch that actually over the. I will watch that. I will watch The Fog. You have to. Yeah, you have to watch The Fog, man. I'll watch The Fog and The Thing. That's what I'll do over Halloween now. I'll even watch the prequel because I actually like the prequel. I know they used CGI, and a lot of fans didn't like that. They thought they should have used practical effects like the original movie. But that aside, the movie was actually very good. I think. I think it was a good, nice movie to add. You know, as a prequel. I think the people that were behind the movie knew the first movie inside out because when you watch the prequel first, and then you actually watch the original, they're actually in line when they go back to the actual place where all the deaths occur in the first one. It lines up with the old movie. They got a spot on. They did their research, man, for that one. Freddy 3 is a cracker. The best, I think. I like that whole franchise, actually. I like that whole franchise. Yeah, I like the prequel. She's still sitting in this the snow car. Yeah, they do sync up perfectly. They do. They absolutely do. It was well done. I think it just gets the stick because people were disappointed the fact that you did use CGI, and I do agree because it because then when you watch the practical effects just look so much better than the CGI. But it was a good one. The Babadook. Oh yeah, I remember watching that movie, The Babadook. It's Australian movie, isn't it, or New Zealand? I think it's Australian. Australian movie. That's good. That's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good movie. As I said, not real scary, unnerving would be the word for it. All right. And I don't mind the unnerving kind of horrors if they do a lot more of them. There's a new movie actually coming out with Hugh Grant. I don't know if you have seen the trailer for it, but it's obviously coming out for Halloween. It's called Heretic, where two Mormon girls or something knock at his door or something, and he brings them into the house, and then all sinister shit starts going on, scary shit starts going on in the house. But the trailer doesn't reveal that much, and that's what I love. Again, if a trailer reveals too much to me, you know, you're giving half the plot away. Well, then the movie is shy, in my opinion, and most of the time it is. But when they just start give you little snippets, and then you think they're going to reveal something, and then they show you something else, it's brilliant marketing. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing that because there hasn't been a decent fucking one in a while. As I said, a decent fucking scary kind of movie. The Fog, the original one, is one of my favorites. Yeah, we just mentioned that as well. Yeah, but the original, I know they did a remake. The remake wasn't bad. I mean, they went a bit more into the fucking lore and stuff, but when you've got the original, you're never going to fucking be um you're gonna kind of fucking, you know, it's never going to be the same. Those two movies, Poltergeist 1 and 2, brilliant. The third movie was kind of terrible. Also, she was sick, very sick during that third movie. The Exorcist will always be, as I consider, the best horror movie made of all time. The best sci-fi horror movie made of all time is Alien. Um, but the best horror, in my opinion, anyway, has been the X. I remember the first time I saw that movie, man. Oh my god, it was like an out of body experience. I don't know what it was about that movie, but you know, because you grow up believing in Jesus, God, and stuff like that, and you always hear the stories about, you know, evil, Satan, and all of that. And then see a movie kind of do something on that possession and stuff like that was mesmerizing to me, especially as a kid. Um, and I still do consider that the greatest horror movie ever made. I mean, that's a masterpiece. That's a mass. Some people laugh at that movie today, right? People literally took heart attacks back in 1976. I think it was 76, 75, 76 when that movie came out. And people literally, ambulances stretchered out of the cinema after watching that movie. That's how much of an impact that movie had, right? See, we're so desensitized now that, like, if they were to show you watch The Exorcist today, it's not going to have the same impact, is it? Right? But you show that to a kid today, even a kid today, because they're not decent. They're not. You know what I mean? They haven't watched it so many times that they've been desensitized. So you show that to a kid, and they're absolutely terrified today. That'd be the scariest thing they'd ever see. And it certainly was up until the point of all the horror movies I'd watched. That was the scariest one. And I mean, I've seen every cut of that movie now, and I like them all. I like them all. Just the subtle differences in the cuts, but I do like them all because they add something to it. And I actually do like the prequels. They did some prequels, right, that were actually very good. I wasn't really a fan of the sequels. Got to be honest, Nicholas. Um, it was 73. There you go. That's how old that movie is. Not 75, as I pretty thank you, Matt. But Jesus, but that yeah, but the spider walk and of course that the famous scene of the crucifix. I mean, Jesus Christ! And then when she pulls her mother's head down, and she does what she does, and then she lifts the head up, and then she got and then you hear the voice, and it's just pure evil. It's just like, whoa, hang on here now. What the fuck? Great movie though. It doesn't get the respect today I believe it deserves. But what can you do? What can you do? Nowadays it's cheap scares and stuff. No, you're talking about you're talking about oh fucking Hugh McGregor movie, Train Spotting. That's what you're talking about, Cinnamon, where the baby crawls up on the ceiling because the baby is dead, and your man's hallucinating because he's out of his face on some drugs, and he sees the baby crawling along the ceiling and turns its head. Yeah, that's a bit fucked up. There is Train Spotting is. That, to be honest, it's not even a horror movie, but that certainly could be a fucking horror scene. Um, that new Exorcist was dreadful. Didn't watch it. I didn't watch it. When I heard Reagan's mother say some shite about about how the priests were the way they treated her or something back then. I was like, nah, fuck, forget about it. Do you know what? If you're gonna stick agenda even in horror movies now as well, you know what I mean? Then fucking, nah. So I haven't watched it. I have no intention of watching it because you know what? I don't want to ruin the movies that I like by watching shy or cheap version of that shy. Hold on. Yeah, the patriarchy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 28 days later. I do like 28 days later. I didn't like weeks later. That's just a personal thing. I didn't like the second one. Um, See, the first one worked for me because it was him. He meets up with the father and the daughter. All right, you run into Christopher Eccleston and his band of weirdos. Um, but it really felt like they could have been possibly the last humans on the planet and stuff. But the second one, they brought the military in and all of this shit and people living in it. Nah, I didn't like it. Um, Children of Men was great. Yeah, it was a great movie. That was actually a very good movie. They're making a new version of I Know What You Did Last Summer. What was that? Went for a sex change or something? Fuck's sake, get away. We don't need another I Know What You Did Last Summer or a reboot of I Know What You Did. Those movies worked back in the day because they appealed to a certain audience. Those movies were directed at a certain audience back then. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scary Movie, Scream, even Urban Legend, right? Those movies appeal to a certain demographic of people out there. That's why they made them. And now you think you could just make them now to mass appeal to everybody because you'll put someone in that's probably trans or identifies as a pigeon or something. I know what you did last summer. You were a female and now you identify as a female penguin. Weeks later was unnecessary. It was a cash grab, man. Right? It was a cash grab. What you should have done with 28 weeks later, you should have stuck with whatever. Because I forget how weeks later, days later, I have to watch that movie again. But I forget how that ends, right? But you continue the story from there using whatever remaining cast is left to tell your story, right? You don't bring in Robert Carlyle because he's the hottest thing at the time, and let's make a 28 weeks later movie. Bollocks, man, bollocks. And then you had the pervy snipers that were watching people screwing and all of that. What was the point of that second movie anyway? Anyone like the Terrifier? I've only seen the first one, pretty gross, but I liked it. I haven't watched any of them. I say Ballstrek, they'd be the type of movie. See, I call them B horrors, and I do like some, but I'm not into all B horrors. I do like the mainstream horrors, I'm not gonna lie. Or the little studio horrors. I know this is one, but I just never gotten into it. I don't know, something about I'm not afraid of clowns or anything like that. I don't really give a shit about clowns, but you know, it's for me it's the pinnacle of clown killer movies. So like anything else to me would seem less. I know it's weird, but that's just me. Uh I saw a tweet criticizing Rose Noble and RTD for throwing her in. I personally like Weeks more, but Days has the better story. Yeah, well, you know, that's the beauty about movies, isn't it? Like I like the first Grease movie, but Cheryl's a huge fan of the second and thinks the second one's better than the first one. I mean, I think that's a ridiculous fucking statement to make, but there you go. It's personal choice, isn't it? White Chicks watched it. I watched it just the other day. What we watched White Chicks. And I'm telling you, that movie is fucking hilarious. It made loads of references to P. Diddy and all, man. And parties. Man, their movies are full. We watched another one of their movies. A scary movie, actually. And they reference P. Diddy parties and all. Like, those lads were telling us what Diddy... Listen, loads of people were telling us what Diddy was up to. It's just a lot of people get distracted by the reality TV and all this other shit. You don't pay attention, right? You don't pay attention. Even the music industry, they warn you about shit, right? They've been warning us for decades. Some people out there do speak up. They speak up through music, film, and whatever. They try let people know. But people don't pay attention because they get distracted by stuff. He was doing, yeah, he was Diddying, all right. Yeah. Well, listen, the thing about it is, right, I'm going to say it out straight. I know everybody's excited about this development and all of that, and they think loads of people are going to be taken down with him. None of these people's names will ever see the light of day, and I'm pretty sure, listen, they won't Jeffrey Epstein them, right? Because they did that already. But there'll be another way that Diddy will be got to, right? None of these people will ever, none of these names or any of the people that we suspect of doing something, they'll never be brought to justice. So nobody should be getting excited, right? The bottom line is that all of these people are naming out on X saying, well, these are the people that were at parties and this is what they were connected to and this is what they were supposed to be up to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? The bottom line is that if you look into this and especially when they raided a certain property, but yet there was other properties that they never bothered raid. Listen, right? There was high profile people at these parties, right? High profile people that are doing stuff in America that's connected to a certain party is not who I'm talking about. Okay. And if that all comes out, it destroys the country, not just the image, right? But it destroys it politically as well, right? And under no circumstances will the people that have that information right now, which is currently the three letter investigative team, the FBI, are never going to allow democracy to fall or these people to fall because it will destabilize the country. Right? It's not happening. Okay? It's not happening. So you can forget about it, right? None of these names are going to, right? It doesn't matter who you think is guilty or all the exposes that have been done. None of these people that you believe are guilty are ever going to see, are ever going to be seen the inside of a jail cell, and all of those victims will never get justice, right? They will never get justice unless there's someone brave enough within that organization to whistleblow and put their lives on the line. And we've seen what has happened to people that have whistleblowed in the past. Okay? This is a dangerous game. People's lives are at risk. Families' lives are at risk. Right? So none of this information is ever getting out. Right? And we all know, right? We all see it. And when you go back, see, this is the thing. When you go back and watch certain clips, certain interviews, right? You could see it. It's clear as day. But at the time, you didn't see it. We all didn't see it. It's absolutely diabolical. But by the way, just to let you know that this stuff is just not happening in America. It's happening in your country. It's happening in my country. Parties and, you know, children being exploited, adults being exploited. Sure, we've even recently learned that people are being trafficked into this country. Instead of sending them home, the Irish government said they could stay. Like they've been literally forced to come here, and you're saying, "Oh yeah, they could stay." This is a worldwide problem. Diddy is not even the tip of listen, Epstein wasn't even the tip of the iceberg. Diddy is not even the tip of the iceberg, right? This goes to every facet of American society. This thing does, right? Okay, there's literally thousands beyond thousands of victims. Secret islands all over the shop. Great, we found Epstein Island. You think he had only one island? You think Diddy only had? You don't think Diddy had any islands? Do you not think any of these people don't have islands, secret locations somewhere around the world that nobody knows about? When these people do something like this or have an operation as big as this, right? Look at Epstein, how long he was able to get away with it for, right? How long more could Diddy have got away with it? See, Diddy made a few mistakes, didn't he, when he battered his girlfriend? Remember, we saw him dragging her through the hallway and all, right? That's what started it all. Was did they all decide? Did the officials start saying, "Oh, hold on, there's something fucking going on here. Maybe we should take a look into this." And then, of course, as they dug deeper and deeper and deeper and realized what they were dealing with, they backed off. Remember, this fucker, they've had this fucker on the radar for ages. Yeah, I seen the big march. I seen the big march in you need more of that now. You need to look Labour. The Labour government. This is all I'll just say to the people in the UK. The Labour government. If the Labour government gets a full term, your country is absolutely gone. The whole of the UK will be done for, right? So it's now you all have a decision to make. What kind of country do you want to live in? Do you want to go back to British values? Go back to your values that made your country the country of what it was, right? Nobody is saying that their countries are perfect. I'm not saying Ireland is perfect either, right? But the bottom line is, you look at your country 10 years ago to today, does your country feel like Britain? Do you feel like your government has the best intentions for you? And if the answer is no, well then, as I said to people a long time ago on this channel, when I started to get out there and protest and stick me neck out there on the line, there comes a point where you've got to ask yourself that question. Like, how much more do you take before you say enough is enough? And, the longer you leave it, the worse it's obviously going to get. So you have a decision as people of your countries now. Do you want our countries to remain the way they're going? Or do you want your country to go back to some sort of normality where British people are put first? Right? This is not racism, by the way. There's nothing wrong with saying put your own people first, but it seems to be a dirty word nowadays. But again, governments have never put their people first anyway. So this is why they're doing this, and they're so open to doing this, because they never really gave a shit about you. It's all about power, prestige, and making lots of money. And that's all of these people will do is gain power, prestige with the elites, and they'll earn a shit ton of money in the process. Meanwhile, an old age pensioner will be sitting at home freezing to fucking death, or a child will be starving because the mother and father can't put food on the table. So if you don't want to go down that route because you're heading down that route, and it's already happening here in Ireland, some people can't put food on the table, right? And we've seen it in England as well. So you're already at that point, okay? So it as I keep saying, there's people sitting at home on their arses still because it doesn't affect them. They're not getting involved. It's going to affect you sooner rather than later, right? And everybody that's there afraid to lose their job and all, listen, you're going to lose your job sooner rather than later, right? The reason why they're bringing all of these people in is because they want cheap labor. They want you to give up your job. So give up your fucking job. You know what I mean? So you're gonna lose your job eventually. Anyway, she's back now, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave it there. But I will be back tomorrow for the normal stream 7 with Cinnamon and hopefully PD and stuff, and we'll have more to talk about. But look at the bottom line is this: like you all have seen what's happening out there, right? You are seeing it in these our own countries as well. The bottom line is that you can't afford to be sitting on your ass and doing nothing about it. And even if you are working, as I said, your job is going to be on the line in a few years. There's an economic crash coming as well, and most of you will lose their jobs anyway. And you're going to be fighting for those scraps like everybody else. And this is the thing, when people get desperate, that's when they'll start doing something about it. But why wait until it gets that desperate to do something about it? Do something about it now. Take action now, right? You have to do something to bring down that Labour government, right? There has to be some dirt on them that can bring them down. Something, right? They're all dodgy, by the way. They're all dodgy. They're all up to something. Remember that. They're all corrupt as hell, right? So find something. Do something. But don't allow them a full term or you won't have a country left. You just won't. And we've already seen what it's like in some parts of England, right? You wouldn't even think it was England anymore, right? And that's what's happening here in Dublin. And it's happening in some towns where migrants have taken over the whole population of the town. They outnumber the natives. So that's what's going to happen in the next few years. So, yes, sit on your asses if you're sitting on your ass because it doesn't affect you. But it's going to affect you in the long run. Anyway, I will leave it there and I will talk to you all again tomorrow. As I said, Cinnamon will be here and PD. Hopefully, I have to check Facebook, see that PD is not busy or anything like that. But we will be back tomorrow for our usual time slot. So thank you for joining me tonight. Yeah, no, it was a bit of a short one, but thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you for the next one, folks. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And yeah, bye-bye. Thank you.